Every time my girlfriend and I fought, a few lines of text would scroll across my vision. They would tell me the real reason behind her seemingly random anger. They would even coach me on what to do when she, red-eyed with fury, told me to get out. They said an ice queen like her needed a ray of sunshine like me to melt her heart. At first, I thought it was a gift from the heavens. But then I was pushed away time and time again, only to listen to the scrolling text and stick to her side like glue. After 7 years of this endless cycle, I was finally exhausted. So, when we had another fight, she must have thought an apology would smooth things over like always, but instead, she saw me packing a suitcase. Her head snapped up, and a cold smirk crossed her face. "Well, look at you, finally grew a spine. Hurry it up and get out, don't keep me from my sleep." My body went rigid, but I didn't look back. My hands just moved faster. I snapped the suitcase shut, pushed the door open, and walked out without a second glance. As I got downstairs, the text scrolled across my vision again. "It's over, what do we say? Ethan's for real this time. If the female lead doesn't start groveling, he's gone for good. Why is she just standing on the balcony like a statue?" Just as I was about to give in and look back, my phone rang, the sound jarring. I saw Khloe Vance on the screen, and my heart skipped a beat, but my hand betrayed me and answered the call. Khloe's voice on the other end was ice. "That little statue on the nightstand, do you want it? If not, I'm tossing it." Her words hit me like a punch to the gut, and I suddenly found it hard to breathe. The statue she was talking about was a pair of ceramic figurines we'd made together on our first date. We had carved our names into the base by hand, and she was the one who insisted we add a heart between them. In all these years, no matter how bad our fights got, she never touched those figurines. But now, she just said, cold as ice, "If you don't want them, they're gone." The text appeared again. "Ethan, what she really means is, you don't even want these memories? Are you really leaving me for good?" A complicated woman needs a man who refuses to be pushed away. Staring at the text, I forced a trembling sound from my throat. "Yeah, throw them out." Khloe didn't say another word. She just hung up. I dragged my suitcase out of the complex and paid a premium to a realtor to find a new place within 3 hours. By the time I was settled, it was the middle of the night. I lay on the unfamiliar bed, feeling lost, experiencing my first night without Khloe in 7 years. The next day, I walked into the office in a complete haze. When I got to my desk, there was a Starbucks Americano sitting there. I was about to ask a coworker about it when I saw Khloe walk in with her assistant, Dylan Price. Dylan was beaming. "It's my birthday today. My boss is treating everyone to coffee out of her own pocket, and there will be dessert this afternoon." His birthday, and Khloe was paying. Instantly, every eye in the office turned to me. My hands at my sides clenched into fists, nails digging into my palms. Then, I picked up the coffee, met Dylan's surprised look, and raised the cup in a toast. "Happy birthday, Dylan." Dylan was left speechless, but Khloe turned to me and spoke up. "Ethan, you were late today. Watch your performance. Just because you're in administration doesn't mean you can slack off." The looks I was getting now shifted, a mixture of pity and mockery. I couldn't help but feel humiliated under their stares, but more than that, I felt a chill in my heart. I forced myself to meet Khloe's gaze. "I already cleared my late arrival with my manager last night. You don't need to concern yourself with it, Director Vance." Her lips pressed into a thin line. She gave me one last, long look before turning away. The moment she was gone, a coworker I'd always clashed with piped up. "Ethan, so all those happy posts on your Facebook were fake, huh? Your wife doesn't give a damn about you. Can't blame her, really. She's pulling in 7 figures, and you're just doing grunt work. You were always punching above your weight." He smirked, grabbing his coffee and scoffing as he walked past my desk. I stared down at the coffee on my desk, and a memory surfaced. When Khloe and I first started at the company, we were both engineers. But there was a strict no fraternization policy for people in the same department. To avoid any issues and figuring one of us should have a more stable schedule for our home life, I requested a transfer to administration. After the transfer, I was able to leave work on time every day, keeping our home life perfectly organized. But now, to Khloe, I was just the guy who did grunt work. I sat in silence as the text scrolled into view. "Ethan, don't listen to them. The female lead only bought coffee for everyone so she'd have an excuse to come to the admin floor and see you." Seriously, her eyes lit up when her assistant mentioned it was his birthday. I believed the text was telling the truth, but Khloe could have just walked over to my department anytime. Instead, she chose the most public and humiliating way possible to see me. I couldn't shake the heavy, suffocating feeling in my chest. Around noon, my manager, Ms. Peterson, called me into her office. The second I walked in, She slid a folder across her desk. Our Berlin office is in trouble. A senior engineer just left and took half his team with him. I need you to go through this year's performance metrics and find someone to send over to take control. Something clicked in my mind. An idea surfaced, and the words tumbled out before I could stop them. Ma'am, my background is in engineering. I'd like to volunteer for the overseas transfer. The moment I said it, both Ms. Peterson and I froze. I had never, ever considered voluntarily leaving Khloe. But once the thought was there, I couldn't push it away. Ms. Peterson hesitated. Ethan, this is a big commitment. You'd have to sign a new contract, a minimum of 5 years without returning to the States. Shouldn't you discuss this with Khloe? I shook my head, my resolve hardening. That won't be necessary. This is my decision to make. I had given up my career for our relationship once before. Now that I had a chance to get it back, I wasn't going to let it slip away. After I said that, the look in Ms. Peterson's eyes changed. She studied me for a moment, then nodded. I'll put your name forward. Don't disappoint me. I nodded emphatically, a thrill coursing through me. As I stepped out of her office, the text flickered to life. Why is Ethan going abroad? What's the female lead going to do? Khloe, you better do something fast, or you're going to lose your husband for real. This time, I ignored what it said and immediately started brushing up on my technical skills. I spent the entire day studying. It wasn't until my friend Leo sent me an iMessage that I looked up. Ethan, it's my birthday tonight. Can you come? I'd completely forgotten and quickly texted back, of course. After work, I walked out of the building and saw Khloe's silver Bentley parked across the street. I stopped in my tracks. The text began to scroll. Ethan, the female lead is here for you. Just look at her for 2 seconds. She'll come right over. You're not mad anymore, are you? It's not worth fighting with such a stubborn, emotionless woman. I had only paused for a second when someone bumped into me hard from behind, making me stumble. I turned to see Dylan's smiling face. Oh, sorry, Ethan. I'm in a rush to head out with my boss for my birthday dinner. Didn't see you there. I froze. Dylan continued. By the way, the director's taking me to Juliet's. I saw on your Facebook you've eaten there before. Any recommendations? At his words, my mind went completely blank. Juliet's was where I had asked Khloe to be my girlfriend. I had once told her, very seriously, this is our special place, just for the two of us. Even if we break up someday, you can't bring anyone else here. And she had answered just as seriously, there won't be anyone else, only you. It felt like a hole had been punched through my chest, cold and pain spreading through me. Before I could even process what Dylan had said, Khloe was rushing over. She didn't even look at me. Her dark eyes were fixed entirely on Dylan. What happened? Are you okay? The pathetic thing was, even though I'd already made up my mind to leave her and move abroad, the sight of them made my eyes sting. I couldn't stand to watch the intimate energy between them for another second. I took a step back and turned to walk away. The text in front of me was flashing wildly. Ethan, don't fall for her games. She's just playing hard to get. She ran across the street against the light the second she saw you stumble. She obviously wants to make it up to you, so why isn't she saying anything? Can't she see you're pissed? Why is she checking on him first? My pace quickened, and the text blurred in my vision. Once I turned the corner and they were out of sight, I roughly wiped the tears from my eyes, cursing myself under my breath. Get a grip, Ethan. You're pathetic. Once I'd calmed down, I got a cab and headed to the address Leo sent me. When I pushed open the door to the private room, he was there with my other 2 best friends, laughing and talking. A lump formed in my throat. These were my guys. We used to talk about everything, and if one of us was in trouble, the other 2 would drop everything to be there. But somewhere along the line, my entire social life, my whole world, had started to revolve around Khloe. It was like one day I woke up and the only thing that mattered was her. I took a deep breath, blinking back the burn in my eyes, and handed over the gift I'd brought. Sorry I'm late. Happy birthday, Leo. Their faces lit up when they saw me. Ethan, get over here. We were waiting for you. I sat down, and for a while, laughing with them, I felt like my old, carefree self again. Alex suddenly looked at me and pulled me into the center of the booth. Hey, cheer up, man. I'll give my birthday wish to you. I was taken aback, but when I saw the look in his eyes, a mix of concern and encouragement, my own eyes started to burn. See? You might not have love, but you've still got us. I fought back the tears, closed my eyes, and clasped my hands together. That night was the happiest I'd been in years. I didn't have to worry about missing a text from Khloe. I could drink as much as I wanted and let it all out. And eventually, I passed out on the couch. In a drunken haze, I heard Wyatt say something about taking me home. It dawned on me that I hadn't even told them Khloe and I were separated. The next time I was aware of anything, it was the sound of Wyatt swearing up a storm, and he was saying Khloe's name. I forced my eyes open and saw Khloe standing in our bedroom doorway, wearing a nightgown. Next to her, looking disheveled, was Dylan. My hot-headed friend Wyatt was still yelling, "Vance, the only reason I'm not decking you is because you're a woman. Do you even remember your wedding vows? How could you do something so shameless? You're disgusting." Khloe stared back at Wyatt with a cold expression, as if he were some kind of thug. I just stared at the scene before me, my mind a complete blank. The text feed went wild. What a mess. She just called her assistant over to drop off a file and gets caught like this. There's no explaining this away. It's that assistant's fault for insisting the file was so urgent. Poor Ethan, waking up from a drunken stupor to this. Khloe, explain yourself. Just staring at his clenched fists isn't going to help. I followed the text's cue and looked at Khloe. She was already staring at me. Our eyes met and she spoke first. "Ethan, take your lunatic friend and get out of my house." A sharp pain lanced through my chest. I forced out the only question I wanted to ask. "Khloe, aren't you going to explain any of this?" But she just laughed softly, her voice dripping with detached scorn. "Why do I need to report my every move to you?" Rage and pain exploded in my chest. It felt like a hand was squeezing my heart, so tight I couldn't breathe, my vision swimming. The feeling, mixed with the alcohol, made me want to break down and cry. I covered my mouth and staggered toward the trash can, and as I bent over, I saw the pile of broken porcelain inside. It was the figurines from our nightstand. I stared at the pieces, my knuckles white as I gripped the rim of the can, and I threw up until I was dizzy, like I was trying to empty my entire soul. "Ethan," Wyatt rushed to my side, rubbing my back to help. The entire time, Khloe just stood in the bedroom doorway, completely still. I could feel Wyatt about to lose it again, so I quickly grabbed his arm. But when I looked up, I saw his face freeze. His voice was suddenly gentle, full of hurt. "Ethan, man, don't cry." I blankly raised a hand to my face and felt the dampness on my fingers. I hadn't even realized I was crying. The text was flashing nonstop. When Ethan started getting sick, the female lead was about to rush over, but his friend got there first. Seeing how broken he is, she's regretting it now. Don't be sad about the broken figurines. She secretly had new ones made. She only threw the old ones out because she was going to give you the new set as an apology. I couldn't even read what it was saying anymore. I gripped Wyatt's hand, using him to pull myself to my feet, and rasped, "Let's go." Wyatt clenched his jaw, shot Khloe a venomous look, and then held my arm firmly as he led me to the door. Right before we reached the door, I stopped and turned back to look at Khloe. "Khloe," I said, my voice steady, "we need to find a time to file for divorce." When the elevator reached the lobby, Wyatt asked cautiously, "Ethan, you doing okay?" I snapped out of the memory and gave him a small smile. Being free from all that drama has to be a good thing, right? Wyatt dropped me off at my new apartment and then headed home. I lay in bed, expecting to be up all night, but I was asleep almost the moment my head hit the pillow. The next morning, I woke up to bright sunshine. I left for work like any other day, but as I approached the entrance to our building, I saw Khloe standing there. The text in my vision immediately flared to life. "The female lead has been waiting here since before dawn, terrified she'd miss you. She's finally starting to get it. After you left last night, she totally blew up at her assistant." Khloe saw me and walked over, but the first thing she did was look me up and down with a frown. "What is that you're wearing? Haven't I told you that style doesn't look good on you? Go home and change." I glanced down at my clothes. I didn't want to argue, but I couldn't stop myself. "I can wear whatever I want. We're getting a divorce, remember?" At my words, her frown deepened. She seemed to bite back a retort, but the impatience in her eyes was clear. "The engineering department is swamped right now. I don't have time for this drama." The text started scrolling again. "Didn't she come here to apologize? What's with this attitude? She was up all night, just replaying you asking for a divorce in her head." They were all saying she was softening up, but all I could see through the translucent text was her cold, indifferent face, and all I could hear were her icy words. "If you're going to insist on this, then I can't stop you." I looked at Khloe and saw the absolute certainty in her eyes. She was sure I wouldn't leave her, sure that this was all just an empty threat. I suddenly had no energy left to argue. I just nodded. "I'll get the divorce papers drawn up as soon as I can." Then I walked right past her and into the office. When I got to my desk, Ms. Peterson came over with a file. "Ethan, this is an emergency. They need someone in Berlin now. The CEO fast-tracked your transfer." I booked you on a flight for tomorrow at 9 p.m. Can you do it? I was stunned for a second, then nodded firmly. Yes. Clutching the thin file in my hand, I felt a wave of relief wash over me. The rest of the day was a blur of activity. I spent it handing off my responsibilities, then met up with Wyatt and my friends at a small diner near our old college campus. They were shocked when I told them about the transfer, but they were quick to congratulate me. Wyatt slapped the table. Hell yeah, Ethan, a promotion and you get to ditch that toxic woman? Congratulations. I couldn't help but laugh. After dinner, we all went our separate ways. I was walking slowly down the street when a sudden clap of thunder echoed, and the sky opened up. I was completely drenched by the time I got home. I took a hot shower and some cold medicine, hoping to ward off getting sick, but I still woke up with a fever in the middle of the night. Groggy and aching, I forced myself out of bed and called a car to the hospital. I couldn't afford to reschedule my flight. I didn't want the CEO to think I wasn't taking this seriously. At 2 in the morning, I finally made it to the emergency room. As I pushed open the door, I heard Khloe's familiar voice asking a doctor, "Is my boyfriend going to be okay?" I instinctively looked over. Inside the ER, Khloe was standing by a desk, letting Dylan, who was sitting in a chair, lean heavily against her. Her voice was laced with anxiety. "It's just an upset stomach. Why is he in so much pain? Doctor, can't you give him something?" I stared at her, feeling a sense of detachment. Just an upset stomach? I'd had that before. Except when I was the one in pain, all Khloe ever told me was to drink some water. I numbly watched the text scroll by. I'm not defending the female lead this time. Ethan is here alone with a fever, and she's taking care of her assistant. She's just doing this to make the male lead jealous. I don't know how long I sat there before the ER door opened. 2 figures emerged and stopped right in front of me. I looked up and met Khloe's direct gaze. Our eyes locked for a second before she looked away, took Dylan's arm, and walked right past me without another glance. A nurse came over and pressed a thermometer to my forehead. She checked the reading and gasped, "Good heavens, you're at 103. You feel okay?" I looked up at her and managed a weak smile. "I feel great." And in the haze of that 103-degree fever, the last ember of hope I had for her finally burned out. I got a shot to bring the fever down, went home with my prescription, and passed out. I must have a strong constitution because when I woke up the next day, the fever was gone. I looked at the thermometer and breathed a sigh of relief. Thank God, I don't have to change my flight. I immediately found a print shop and printed out a set of divorce papers. Khloe and I didn't have many shared assets to divide. The condo was in her name and my income was my own. It was simple. After that, I finished packing and called my landlord to terminate the lease. With everything taken care of, I carried my suitcase downstairs, planning to find a mail service to send her the divorce papers. But Khloe was waiting for me. She was leaning against her silver Bentley, looking pale and exhausted. She saw me with the suitcase and her expression grew urgent. "Where are you going?" I gave a vague answer. "Work is sending me on a trip." She seemed to relax a little at that. "I was in the neighborhood. Let me give you a ride to the airport." I hesitated for a moment, then nodded. Khloe didn't say another word the entire drive. When we got to the airport, she walked me all the way to the security gate. I started to head through, but she suddenly called out, "Ethan, when you get back, we should go visit your parents." I turned to look at her just as an announcement came over the PA system. "Attention passengers on flight DH9755 to Berlin. Boarding will close in 30 minutes. That was my flight. I snapped back to reality, reached into my bag, and pulled out the manila envelope containing the divorce papers. I handed it to her. She took it, a confused look on her face. I gave her a relaxed smile. "I've already signed my part. Just sign yours and email me a copy." With that, I walked toward the security line. "Goodbye, Khloe." I cleared security and started walking toward my gate, but I heard Khloe's panicked voice behind me. "Divorce papers? Ethan, what is this?" I glanced back and saw her being held back by airport security, her eyes wide with disbelief. I gave a small, tight smile, boarded the plane, and left her voice behind me for good. After a nearly 13-hour flight, I finally landed in Berlin. I spent one night recovering at the corporate apartment, then threw myself into my work. For 3 straight days, I barely left the office, working around the clock. I didn't think about Khloe once. When I finally stepped outside, the sunlight was so bright it hurt my eyes. It felt like I'd been in a different world. As my vision cleared, I saw her. Khloe was standing a short distance away, her eyes red as she stared at me. "Ethan." I stared at her, my mind struggling to catch up. She walked right up to me, her voice raspy from travel. "Why didn't you tell me that this was a 5-year assignment?" Did you start lying to me, too? I frowned. Khloe, did you not see the divorce papers I gave you? Her eyes got even redder. She grabbed my hand, her voice desperate. I didn't sign them. We're not getting divorced. I'd never seen her act so irrational. Not waiting for a response, she started pulling me along. You're going to go back in there and withdraw your application. There are plenty of other engineers. Why does it have to be you? I stopped and yanked my arm free. Khloe, I fought for this opportunity. And you want me to just throw it away because you said so? She stared at me, her eyes filled with confusion. What is wrong with you? We haven't solved anything, and you just run away to the other side of the world to hide? What's the point? Sign the papers, Khloe. Then everything will be solved. She stared at me, her eyes becoming more and more bloodshot. Ethan, she said suddenly, when we got married, I told you, no divorce, only till death do us part. Is this your way of torturing me? I had no idea how to deal with this paranoid version of her. Just then, someone tapped me on the shoulder. Hey, Ethan, mind if I catch a ride with you today? I turned to see my new colleague, Sam Carter, smiling at me. I wanted to get away from Khloe, so even though I barely knew him, I agreed. I didn't breathe a sigh of relief until I was in my company car. I glanced in the rearview mirror. Khloe was still standing in the same spot, too far away now for me to make out her expression. I looked away from the mirror and asked Sam, so where do you live? He grinned. Hey, just start driving. You can drop me at the next corner. I gave him a confused look, and he winked. That was your ex, right? Looked like you needed an out, so I figured I'd help. His sincerity was a little embarrassing, but I was grateful. Thanks, I appreciate it. Sam just waved it off. Don't mention it. I can't stand people who won't take a hint. I didn't want to get into the details of my life with him, so I just dropped him off at the next corner as he'd asked. Before he shut the door, I said, coffee's on me tomorrow. Thanks again for the save. He didn't argue, just gave me a wave and walked off. I got back to my apartment, rubbing my aching temples, and went to run a bath. The water was halfway to the top when my phone rang. I saw the caller ID and picked up. Hey mom, what's up? Ethan, your father, and I decided to come visit the city for a few days. We stopped by your place, but why is there a strange man in your and Khloe's apartment? My stomach clenched. I watched the water level in the tub rise and shut my eyes. Mom, there's something I haven't told you. I'm divorcing Khloe. I've already signed the papers, we're just finalizing things. There was a long silence on the other end of the line before my mom finally spoke. Where are you? Your father and I will come to you. You don't have to, Mom. I took an assignment with work. I'm overseas. Once things settle down here, I'll call and explain everything. My parents aren't old-fashioned. They wouldn't try to stop me from getting a divorce. They would just worry about me. I slept peacefully that night. The next morning, I woke to the sound of a light rain. As I headed out with my umbrella, I saw her standing downstairs. The Berlin nights were cold. I had no idea how long she'd been waiting there, or what she was even trying to accomplish. I thought I'd made myself perfectly clear yesterday, and I didn't want to get dragged into another argument. I started to walk around her, but she called out, Ethan, I didn't sign the papers. She stepped in front of me, her voice firm. Either I request a transfer here, or you come home with me. Even if I did something wrong, you have to give me a chance to make it right. A lump formed in my throat. I looked at her and said slowly, Khloe, haven't I given you chances? The night Dylan was at our apartment, I asked you for an explanation, and you just threw away those figurines we made. Did you ever once stop to think about how that would make me feel? Khloe's brow furrowed. I've told you 100 times, we're just colleagues. And yes, I threw the old figurines away, but I had new ones made for you. She reached out to grab my arm. Ethan, I jerked back, my voice cold. Don't touch me. She clearly hadn't expected such a harsh reaction, and her expression soured. I took another step back. I have my own life now. Please stop interfering with it. Her own anger flared. Ethan, I came all this way to apologize. What more do you want from me? As long as I don't sign those papers, we are still legally married. I looked back at her, my voice turning to ice. Khloe, you're acting just like your mother, refusing to let your father go. What's the difference? I got in my car and drove away. When I got to the office, I froze. There was someone sitting at the desk next to mine. She looked up and gave me a bright smile. Ethan, surprise. Surprise? More like a heart attack. As the chairman's only daughter, I had no idea what Bianca Frost was doing here. Shouldn't you be back in the States? What are you doing in Berlin? Bianca answered without missing a beat. I'm in grad school. My father wanted me to get some real-world experience, and since this office was having issues, he figured if I could help fix things, it would look good on my resume. She smiled. He said he felt better about it knowing you were here to keep an eye on things. Before I could respond, I heard Sam mutter behind me, "So the princess has arrived." I don't know if Bianca heard him, but her expression didn't flicker. I didn't dwell on it. "I thought you studied finance." Start by analyzing the last quarter's performance data. Bianca didn't act like a spoiled rich girl at all. She worked diligently all morning. Sam, however, kept sneaking glances at her. When lunchtime came around, Bianca appeared at my desk. "Ethan, can I join you for lunch?" I pinched the bridge of my nose. "Fine, let's go." Sam immediately shot up from his chair. "I'll come too." The three of us were walking out of the office, trying to decide where to eat, when we ran right into Khloe holding a takeout bag. Her face was blank as she held the bag out to me. "I know you don't like the food here, so I ordered you something from that new Chinese place." She glanced at Bianca and Sam, then pressed her lips together. "I didn't realize you had company. I didn't order enough for everyone." I didn't take the bag. "You keep it. I'm eating with them." Khloe frowned. "Ethan, do you have to be this way with me?" Before I could answer, Bianca cut in. "Well, if it isn't Director Vance. I heard that big project you're leading just hit a major snag. Seems like a strange time to be leaving the country instead of staying to manage the crisis, doesn't it?" Khloe recognized her, of course. Her mouth set in a hard line. "The project is fine. You shouldn't believe every rumor you hear." Then she looked at me. "If you're all going to lunch, I'm coming with you." A wave of irritation washed over me. "Khloe, let me be perfectly clear. I do not want to have lunch with you. Do you understand?" She just stood there, stunned. I ignored her and left with Bianca and Sam. It wasn't until we were seated at the restaurant that I realized they were both staring at me. "What?" I asked. Sam looked relieved that I'd spoken. "Dude, that was awesome. That's exactly how you have to handle a woman like that. Firm and direct." He was smart enough not to ask for details about what had happened between us. He just kept telling me how cool I'd been. I just smiled. I didn't feel particularly cool. If I were, I wouldn't have put up with it for so many years. I didn't notice that Bianca had been silent the whole time, just watching me quietly. By the time we got back to the office, Khloe was gone. I didn't see her for the next several days. I figured she must have gone back to the States. For some reason, I felt a huge sense of relief. I had a peaceful month until I got an iMessage from Dylan. "Ethan, could you please unblock Khloe's number? I see her trying to call you every night." I read the message, then immediately blocked his number too. Whatever Dylan or Khloe were up to, it had nothing to do with me anymore. I just never expected my peace and quiet to end so abruptly after that one text. Looking at Khloe and Dylan standing in front of me with their suitcases, I found it impossible to smile. Dylan handed me a folder. "Ethan, headquarters is thinking about adding a new production line in Germany. We've been sent to do the preliminary assessment." I saw the official company letterhead on the document and didn't ask any more questions. I just led them to a spare office. "Director Vance, this office has 2 desks. It should be enough for you and your assistant." Khloe's fists clenched. "I never said to put him in the same office as me," she said through gritted teeth. The color drained from Dylan's face. I smiled. "My apologies, but there are no other offices available. You shared an office with him back in the States. No reason to get special treatment here." My open sarcasm clearly made her uncomfortable. I don't know what went through her head, but she suddenly looked at me. "So, you were jealous about this before?" She looked genuinely confused. "If you were jealous, why didn't you just tell me?" I looked at her confused frown and suddenly felt sick. "Director Vance, we are not married anymore. Please be mindful of professional boundaries. I have no interest in discussing the past. From now on, I expect us to be nothing more than colleagues." Her expression darkened, but before she could say anything, I turned and walked out. We were both busy with work, so Khloe and I didn't speak at all that day. By the time I was ready to leave, her office was already dark. I was rubbing my stiff neck on my way out of the building when I heard quiet, choked sobs coming from the parking lot. I instinctively looked toward the sound. It was Dylan and Khloe. Dylan looked utterly devastated, while Khloe just stood there with a deep frown. I started to walk away, but then I heard Dylan's broken voice. "Khloe, you're carrying my child. You can't just let this be the end for us." I didn't stay to hear any more. I left without a sound. As I started my car, my hands on the steering wheel, I couldn't help but think how absurd it all was. To me, she acted like her love was boundless, but she was pregnant with another man's child. The thoughts came and went, leaving no real impact. I pulled out my phone and called Wyatt. He picked up right away. "Ethan, what's going on?" I gave her the divorce papers, but she won't sign them. Before I could even finish, Wyatt exploded. "What do you mean she won't sign? After everything, she has the nerve to refuse a divorce. I laughed dryly. That seems to be the case. I just want to know what I have to do to make this divorce happen. Wyatt, ever the lawyer, got straight to the point. Do you have any proof that she cheated? I thought for a second. I have a picture of her kissing another guy. There was a pause on Wyatt's end, and I felt a little awkward. That's it. Is that not enough to prove infidelity? Took Wyatt a moment to respond. Send me the picture. I'll take a look at it. As soon as I got home, I forwarded him the photo. A minute later, my phone buzzed with a video call from him. Ethan, who sent you this picture? I didn't know where he was going with this, but I answered honestly. Khloe's assistant. Wyatt's brow was furrowed. This picture is a fake. I ran it through a program. They were just standing close together. It's been manipulated. I was speechless. I quickly added, there's something else. As I was leaving work today, I overheard Dylan telling Khloe she was pregnant with his child. Wyatt's eyes went wide. Took him a moment to speak. That cheating? Then just wait. I'll have someone look into her medical records. As a lawyer, Wyatt had connections everywhere. This wouldn't be hard for him. After we hung up, I let out a long, heavy sigh. I tried to clear my head and noticed a text from an unknown number. The day after tomorrow, let's meet at the Brandenburg Gate. You were the one who proposed last time. This time, please give me a chance. I looked down at the screen and smiled grimly. The Brandenburg Gate, that's where I had proposed to her. My thumbs moved across the screen. No, thank you. You should be more concerned with what you're going to do about you and Dylan's baby. Less than an hour after I sent the text, there was a knock at my door. I looked through the peephole. Of course, it was Khloe. She looked more frantic than I had ever seen her, but I had no intention of opening the door. Her emotions weren't my problem anymore. I had already put my phone on silent, and I watched it light up again and again on my nightstand. Finally, Khloe couldn't take it anymore and started yelling through the door. Ethan, open up. We need to talk. I let out a short, humorless laugh. I couldn't imagine what I could possibly have to talk about with my soon-to-be ex-wife. Her knocking grew louder, more insistent. I frowned, picked up my phone to reject her call, and then dialed building security. There's someone harassing me at my apartment. I need you to send someone up. Less than 3 minutes later, it was quiet outside my door. As for facing her at work tomorrow, I figured she wouldn't dare confront me in front of the entire office. Her thing with Dylan was a scandal, and if it got out, she'd be the one to suffer the consequences. That night, our group chat with my friends was buzzing. Leo kept sending me messages of support. Back in college, he was the one who knew better than anyone how much I loved Khloe, which was why he was the most worried I wouldn't be able to get over this. I texted them back with a smile. I'm fine, guys. Just dealing with a toxic ex. When they saw my tone was normal and I was even using emojis, they finally relaxed. After our chat, I put my phone down and went right to sleep. The next day at work, I got straight to my tasks as usual. It wasn't long before a familiar figure appeared at my desk. I looked up into Khloe's intense stare and smiled. Director Vance, is there something I can help you with? Khloe seemed to notice the looks from our coworkers and lowered her voice. Let's talk outside. I didn't move. Instead, I raised my own voice slightly. Director Vance, I don't think that's appropriate. We're in the middle of divorce proceedings. It's not a good look for you to keep seeking me out. The atmosphere in the office shifted instantly. Khloe's face clouded over. I looked away from her. If you don't want me to say anything else, you should probably leave. I expected her to back down. Someone as proud as her couldn't possibly endure this kind of public humiliation. But to my surprise, her eyes welled up with tears. She looked down, her voice raspy. Ethan, please, just let me explain. I considered it for a moment. I have work to do. We can talk after I'm done for the day. The despair on her face vanished, replaced by a wave of relief. Okay, I'll wait for you outside after work. I ignored the curious stares from my colleagues. But as I got up to take a file to another department, I noticed Bianca's desk was empty. Where's Bianca? I asked Sam. He looked up, confused. Oh, Bianca? She called in sick today. I nodded. Bianca had a restless spirit. She probably just needed a break. When I got back to my desk after dropping off the file, I saw I had a missed call from headquarters. I called back immediately. The chairman's assistant answered. Ethan, Mr. Frost asked me to call you. I've just sent his personal cell number to your email. It's a personal matter, so please call him back when you have a moment. I stared at my phone, completely bewildered. I'd only ever seen the chairman at the annual company parties. What could he possibly want to talk to me about on his personal line? I stepped out into the hallway and dialed the number. He picked up after 3 rings. I was nervous, and before I could even say hello, I heard his deep, booming laugh. "Ethan Miller, right?" I held the phone tighter. "Yes, Mr. Frost. How can I help you?" He paused for a moment before continuing. "I recall you went to the same university as my wayward daughter. We've had a bit of a disagreement, and with me being so far away, I can't really do much. She's throwing a fit and refusing to work. I was hoping you might be able to go talk some sense into her for me." I was surprised, partly by how much he clearly cared for his daughter, and partly by the absurdity of the request. But he was the chairman of the board, so I had no choice but to agree. I headed back to my desk, and as I walked in, my coworkers were all smiling at me. "Looks like you're popular with the ladies these days, Ethan." "Ethan, you've got to see this," Sam called out, waving me over to my desk. That's when I saw it. A huge, beautifully arranged bouquet of sunflowers was sitting on my desk, bright and cheerful. I frowned and glanced toward Khloe's office. She was the only person here who knew sunflowers were my favorite. But when I looked, I saw her glaring at the flowers, her eyes practically burning holes in them. It wasn't from her. I walked over to my desk and found a small card tucked into the bouquet. In elegant script, it read, "Cheers to today and to tomorrow. Congratulations on your freedom." It was signed, Elisa. I raised an eyebrow. If I wasn't mistaken, that was Bianca's middle name. I took the card and slipped it inside my notebook. Before I knew it, it was the end of the workday. I was still on a video call with headquarters long after everyone else had left. When I finally disconnected, the office was completely empty. I turned and saw Khloe standing in the doorway, and I frowned. Seeing that I was finished, she walked over. "So this is why you came to Berlin? To get away from me, so you could be with someone else?" I was speechless at her baseless accusation. "A bouquet of flowers proves I'm with someone else?" I said coldly. "By that logic, with how close you and Dylan have been, should I be suing you for adultery?" Khloe stared at me, her eyes wide with disbelief. "When did you become so hostile?" Her endless questions were wearing on my patience. I stood up. "Khloe, for years, I let you walk all over me, and you mistook my patience for weakness. You seem to forget I was captain of the debate team in college. Who I see and where these flowers came from is none of your business. And let me remind you one last time, I am divorcing you." Something I said must have set her off, because she suddenly became agitated. "Why won't you explain? We're not divorced yet. This is cheating." I looked at her calmly. "Then sue me. It would only speed up the process. The condo is yours. I don't want anything. A clean break is exactly what I want." I gave a small smile, pushed past her, and walked away. When I got back to my apartment building, Bianca was waiting for me downstairs, leaning against a red Ferrari. She grinned. "Ethan, did you like your gift today?" I looked at her, my expression neutral. "How did you know I like sunflowers? And did you really take the entire day off just to send them to me?" Her smile faltered. "It's after 5, she said, a little defensively. "You're not my boss right now. Can't we just talk like friends? Even if I'm not your boss, I'm still your senior alumnus," I said lightly. "It's not out of line for an older person to show some concern." She frowned slightly. "Alumnus, fine. Older person? You're only 6 years older than me. That hardly makes you an elder." I was about to argue, but she cut me off. "All right, fine, let's drop it. It's a beautiful night. Want to go for a drive?" I glanced up at the clear, starry sky and found myself actually tempted. I thought about it. "Okay, I'll get my car." Bianca looked surprised. "You're not coming with me?" I smiled. "Sorry. I only feel comfortable when I'm the one behind the wheel." In the end, we left in 2 separate cars, me in the lead and Bianca following behind. I watched her in my rearview mirror, already trying to figure out how to gently let her down. After all, I wasn't interested in a girl 6 years my junior. We came from completely different worlds, and I had no desire to try and bridge that gap. We were just 2 people heading in opposite directions. We drove aimlessly for a while until a text from Bianca lit up my phone. "Ethan, there's a street full of pubs up ahead. Want to stop for a drink?" I glanced at the brightly lit street in the distance and texted back, "Sure." After we parked, Bianca came up beside me. "So, how well do you hold your liquor, Ethan?" I thought back. During my time in engineering, I'd had my fair share of work dinners. I could handle a whole bottle of strong tequila, so I figured my tolerance was decent. I gave her a nod, and she led the way into a pub. Once we were seated, she started ordering a long list of drinks and appetizers from the tablet menu. "Ethan, their garlic parmesan wings are supposed to be amazing." Before I could even respond, I heard a familiar voice beside me. "He hates garlic. Don't you bother to learn anything about a person before you ask them out." I turned and saw Khloe standing there, her face a thundercloud. I frowned. What are you doing here? Khloe ignored the hostility in my tone and slid into the booth next to me. I had something work-related to discuss with you. I saw you leaving, so I just followed you. She said it so casually, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. She even tried to link her arm through mine, just like she used to when we were together, a clear gesture of staking her claim. I looked at her hand on my arm. Move your hand, please. Her expression froze, but she didn't move. I met her gaze, my own unwavering. Finally, she pulled her hand away, placing it on her lap and clenching it into a fist. I turned to Bianca. Let's get an order. Khloe would never know the truth. I didn't hate garlic. I stopped eating it years ago because she once claimed to be allergic. I didn't have to worry about her anymore, so I could eat whatever I wanted. Bianca, who had been hesitating, immediately placed the order. She shot Khloe a triumphant, toothy grin. I smirked. If Khloe was going to invite herself along and make things awkward, she couldn't blame me for not protecting her feelings. Bianca chose that moment to add, "By the way, Ms. Vance, I'm treating Ethan tonight. You'll have to get your own tab." Khloe's fist tightened, but for some reason, she didn't leave. I had no idea what was going through her head. Our food and drinks arrived quickly. The waitress who brought them over was a friendly woman who told us, "Just so you know, we have several games tonight. Couples can play to win prizes." My interest was piqued. "What kind of games?" I asked. "Darts, roulette, truth or dare," she replied. Bianca's eyes lit up. "Ethan, I'm good at all of those, especially darts. You just pick a prize, and I'll win it for you." The waitress smiled. "Well, have fun, you three." As soon as she left, Bianca turned to me, her eyes shining. "Ethan, I know this version of the dart game. It's a partner game. The woman is blindfolded, and the man gives her directions. We should do it. We'd totally win." Khloe's voice cut in from the side, dripping with sarcasm. Miss Frost certainly seems to be an expert when it comes to games. Bianca didn't miss a beat. "Of course," she said with a confident smile. "You're supposed to have fun when you're young. It's better than being old and only knowing how to play with people's emotions." Khloe's eyes flashed with anger, her knuckles turning white. "Bianca!" Bianca just shrugged, looking completely unbothered. "I didn't mention any names. Why are you getting so worked up?" Her casual attitude seemed to infuriate Khloe even more. I listened to them bicker, saying nothing, just sipping my drink. My eyes drifted to the front of the pub, where they were setting up the dartboard and laying out the prizes. My gaze lingered for a moment on a small stuffed animal. I vaguely remembered seeing one just like it on Sam's desk at work. He'd probably like it. I turned to Bianca. "Let's play later." Her face lit up. "Okay." Khloe spoke up from beside me. "When did you start liking those kinds of childish things?" "Ethan, don't do this just to make me angry." I didn't answer her. The dart game started quickly. When the enthusiastic host called out, "Who will be our first brave lady?" Bianca shot to her feet. "I will. Come on, Ethan." I looked at Khloe, who was blocking my way. "Excuse me," I said flatly. At the same time, the host on stage grinned. "Miss, you've got a handsome boyfriend there." Khloe suddenly stood up. "Excuse me, he's my partner. I'm playing with him." Before Bianca could even react, Khloe had walked up to the dart line and was looking straight at me. "Ethan, give me one chance. If I can't win you the prize you want, I'll never bother you again." I thought about her offer, then looked at Bianca. "I'll play with you next." I was intrigued by Khloe's terms. Bianca just grinned. "Fine by me. I can't wait to watch her lose." The competitive streak in the younger girl was almost amusing. I stood up, walked over to Khloe, and tied the blindfold over her eyes. As I did, she whispered, "Ethan, for you I will not lose." For a second, I was lost in a memory of a time long ago when she had said similar, heartfelt things to me. But that time was long past. Now her words meant nothing. Once the target was set, I said casually, "Southeast." Khloe's grip on the dart tightened. It was a vague direction, and she seemed unsure of where to aim. She finally understood why I had agreed to play with her. She was holding the dart so tightly that the tip pricked her finger, drawing a tiny bead of blood. She gave a bitter laugh. "You really don't want anything to do with me, do you? You want me gone that badly? Well, Ethan, I'm not going to lose." Hearing her say that, a strange feeling stirred inside me. But in the next instant, she raised her arm and threw. The dart flew straight toward the target. I frowned. The target moved again. I paused, then said simply, "West," even more vague this time. Khloe's lips pressed into a thin, determined line. She threw, and the dart hit its mark again. This time, it wasn't just me who was surprised. The crowd below started murmuring, some even yelling that it was rigged. The host quickly came over. "Sir, we're going to need to inspect the lady's blindfold." I stepped back. "Be my guest." Even I suspected she was cheating, so it was no surprise that everyone else did too. The host himself put a new, thicker blindfold on her. The crowd quieted down, all eyes on Khloe, waiting for me to give the final direction. I looked at the target, which was straight ahead, and then called out a direction in the complete opposite way. Khloe hesitated, then turned to face where I was looking. I let out a quiet sigh of relief. She threw the dart, and it flew toward the empty wall. But then, in a move that defied belief, the dart hit the wall, ricocheted off at an angle, and landed dead center on the target. The pub was silent for a stunned second, then erupted in cheers. No one was calling her a cheater now. They were all cheering for what they probably thought was some kind of mystical trick shot. Only Bianca yelled out, "No way! That's insane!" The cheers said it all. Khloe removed the blindfold, her eyes shining. "Ethan," she said, "even fate wants us to be together." The roar of the crowd was deafening, making my head spin. I thought I heard someone nearby say, "How romantic." For a moment, looking at her, I felt my resolve waver. "Ethan," someone was shaking me, and the sharp movement snapped me back to reality. It was Bianca, her hand tight on my arm, her face etched with worry. "What's wrong?" I asked, disoriented. "You just froze," she said, her voice tight with anxiety. "You were just standing there, completely still. I kept calling your name, but you didn't answer. Are you okay?" Before she could finish, Khloe interrupted, pushing Bianca's hand off my arm. "Bianca," she said, her voice like ice, "he's with me. Watch yourself." She spoke with such confidence, such possessiveness, as if that lucky shot had given her some kind of authority. Was it because she'd won the prize? I frowned, ignoring her, and turned to Bianca. "My turn with her is over. I want that stuffed animal. It's your turn to help me win it." Bianca cracked her knuckles. "You got it." The color drained from Khloe's face. She looked at me as if I had just betrayed her, but I didn't look at her again. I just casually collected the prize Khloe had won, handed it off, and then started a new game with Bianca. Khloe stood in the crowd, her face dark, as she watched me guide Bianca's throws, my directions far more precise than the ones I had given her. The rest of the crowd started to watch us with amusement. After our round, Bianca easily won the stuffed animal for me. I smiled and gave her a nod. "Thanks." Bianca shot a look at Khloe, then walked off the stage like a conquering hero. "You see, Ms. Vance," she said, "sometimes skill doesn't matter. It's all about whether someone is willing to give you a real chance." Khloe's fists clenched, and her voice was so cold it could have frozen water. "Bianca, if only your professional abilities were as sharp as your mouth." Bianca just shrugged. "I don't really care. I have enough money to hire people like you to do the work for me." The pointed remark made Khloe's face go pale. She looked at me, and I met her gaze calmly. "I'm done for tonight. I'm going home." "I'll drive you," Khloe said quickly. "No thanks. I have my own car." My constant rejection must have been getting to her, because she bit out her next words. "Ethan, you promised." I raised an eyebrow. "Promised you what?" "You're the one who said you'd leave me alone if you lost. I never said I'd take you back if you won. So whether you bother me or not has no bearing on the fact that I'm rejecting you, right?" Without waiting for an answer, I turned and walked out of the pub. I slept soundly. I got to the office early the next day and left the stuffed animal on Sam's desk, sending him a picture of it. As expected, I got a 60-second voice note back from him, filled with nothing but pure excitement. When I got to my own desk, there was a container of breakfast waiting for me. Soup dumplings and soy milk. They smelled like pork and scallion. I paused, looking at the steaming dumplings for a moment, before pushing the container to the side. Just as I was about to pull out the sandwich I'd made that morning, Khloe appeared in front of me. She frowned. "You can't eat that for breakfast. It has no nutritional value. You don't want your stomach issues to flare up." I'd already noticed her office door was ajar, so I wasn't surprised to see her. I looked down. "Don't go to the trouble of making me breakfast anymore. I don't want it." Khloe was quiet for a moment. "Then what do you want to eat?" "I'll make it for you." I put my sandwich down on the desk. "No, thank you," I said, my voice flat. "It's not the food I don't want. It's anything made by you. Is that clear enough?" She looked hurt, but she persisted. "I know you're still angry, but I'll prove to you with my actions that I know I was wrong. As for the baby, I'll figure out a way to handle it." In that instant, I lost my appetite completely. So she was admitting it. The baby was Dylan's. I looked at her, and her beautiful face seemed like that of a complete stranger. Before I could say anything, Bianca's cheerful voice cut through the office. "Ethan, Sam, I brought you guys breakfast. The good stuff from that new cafe. A few other coworkers who were just arriving laughed. Hey, Bianca, how come only the two handsome guys get breakfast? What about the rest of us? Bianca just laughed. Hey, I've got to take care of my team. If I ever get transferred to your department, I'll bring you guys breakfast too. She was so cheerful it was hard not to smile. Bianca walked over, squeezing right past Khloe, and put a bag on my desk. Breakfast burritos and hot coffee. One for you, one for Sam. I glanced at her, then at Khloe, who was still staring at me, and I took the bag. I made a mental note to have a talk with Bianca later and make things clear. I took the breakfast from her and smiled. Thanks. I could see the anger flash in Khloe's eyes, but she quickly suppressed it. I watched Khloe walk away, her shoulders slumped, and felt nothing at all. I thought for a moment, then opened iMessage and sent a text to my boss back in the States. How long are Khloe Vance and Dylan Price scheduled to be here for their assessment? He replied a few minutes later. They were sent by the engineering department. I'm not sure of the timeline. It all depends on their findings. A month, then? I did the math. She'd been here less than a week. The next few weeks were going to be long. I sighed and threw myself back into my work, trying not to think about it. Just before lunch, Khloe got a phone call and rushed out of the office. I barely noticed, but a few minutes later, I got an iMessage from Dylan. Ethan, would you be free to grab a quick lunch? There's something I need to talk to you about. I glanced over at Khloe's empty office, then back at Dylan, who was watching me with a hopeful expression. For some reason, I suddenly felt sorry for the guy. I texted back, okay. When lunchtime arrived, Sam came over to my desk. I've got something to do for lunch, I told him. You and Bianca go ahead without me. He looked a little disappointed but just nodded and went to get Bianca. Bianca shot a surprised look in my direction before leaving with Sam. Dylan and I found a quiet little cafe nearby. After we ordered, Dylan seemed nervous. He sat with his hands clasped together, and it was a long time before he finally spoke. Ethan, I'm sorry. About the baby, I'm going to make sure she terminates it. I looked at him. His young face looked unusually weary. Maybe it was because I wasn't in love with Khloe anymore, but he didn't seem as smug and arrogant as he used to. I thought for a moment before I spoke. You know, if you want to keep the baby, you can. I'm divorcing her anyway. I wasn't trying to be cruel, but since he'd already destroyed my marriage, he might as well get what he wanted out of it. And it would give Khloe one less reason to bother me. Just as I was thinking that, Dylan let out a bitter laugh. Ethan, I don't think that divorce is going to happen. I frowned. What are you talking about? She's been talking to lawyers, Dylan said, trying to find out if she can block the divorce if she doesn't agree to it. She's talked to several big-name attorneys, and they all told her the same thing. She can refuse to sign, and those papers you gave her are worthless. And even if you could prove the baby is mine, it's still not guaranteed a judge would grant you a divorce on those grounds. My frown deepened. I didn't understand why he was telling me this, but the words "can't get divorced" sent a chill down my spine. Was I going to be stuck with her forever? I shuddered. Dylan looked at me and said again, I'm sorry, Ethan. I really am. At first, I thought you two were in a loveless marriage. I just couldn't see any sign that she actually cared about you. But now I see the truth. I was just a pawn to her, a tool to make you jealous. He laughed, a bitter, broken sound. I know I'm a piece of trash for what I did, but she was the most powerful, most impressive person I'd ever met. I thought you two didn't love each other, so I took a chance. But I lost. I lost everything. And I was serious about her. I cut him off, my voice flat. You were never going to win. The moment you stake your entire future on another person, you're destined to fail. I don't feel sorry for what's happening to you now. You brought this on yourself. But I will thank you for one thing. You helped me see Khloe for who she really is. Without you, I might never have gotten free. I called the waiter over, paid our bill, and left. Dylan didn't try to stop me. He just sat there, his head bowed, his hair hiding his face. As I was getting into my car, I glanced back one last time and saw his face in his hands, his shoulders shaking. I don't know why, but I suddenly felt a weight settle in my chest. When I got back to the office, I had just parked my car when I saw Khloe getting out of hers, holding a thermos. Our eyes met. She looked surprised for a second, then a smile spread across her face. She walked over to me. Ethan, she said softly, I made your favorite chicken soup. I stood there for a long moment, staring at the thermos in her hands, and the image of Dylan's broken expression flashed in my mind. A sudden wave of anger washed over me, and I pushed the thermos away. I don't want it. Khloe, you're the one who's in the wrong here. How can you just stand there and act like nothing has happened? You want me to forgive you? Have you given a single thought to Dylan? What right do you have? My anger seemed to startle her, and her smile vanished. Ethan, I know I was wrong, but I'm trying to make it up to you now. Stop bringing up Dylan. He has nothing to do with us. From now on, it's just going to be you and me. I saw the impatience in her eyes. When I didn't respond, she pressed the thermos into my hands. Just drink it, she said, as if talking to a child. The next thing I knew, I had thrown the thermos as hard as I could. It hit the pavement with a loud clang, the soup spilling everywhere. I looked at Khloe's shocked face, my voice ice. How much do I owe you for the soup and the thermos? I'll send you the money. Just stop bothering me. A flush crept up her neck, whether from anger or embarrassment. I couldn't tell. She clenched her fists, her voice shaking with rage. Ethan, you're humiliating me. I stared back at her. And you haven't been humiliating me? Coming here again and again, expecting me to just forgive your betrayal. I started to walk away, but she stepped in front of me, her eyes finally softening. Ethan, I'm admitting I was wrong. Please believe me. I can't live without you. I promise. Nothing like this will ever happen again. I walked right past her without another word. Back in the office, still fuming, I was met with Bianca's smiling face. Ethan, I brought you a sandwich. You should eat something. I glanced at it. Thanks, I didn't get a chance to eat. How much do I owe you? Bianca just waved her hand dismissively. Don't be silly, it's on me. I didn't say anything, just looked at her. She must have sensed my mood, because her smile faded a little, but she didn't take the sandwich back. I just nodded, sat down at my desk, and pushed the sandwich to the side. Bianca looked like she wanted to say something, but I was already staring at my computer screen. She sighed and went back to her own desk. The sandwich sat there, untouched, until the end of the day. I hadn't eaten all day, so by the time I left work, I was feeling dizzy and lightheaded. I fumbled in my car's glove compartment for a piece of candy, which helped a little. Just as I started the engine, a text from Dylan popped up on my phone. Ethan, I've resigned. Thank you for helping me see the light. If you ever need anything, just let me know. I read the message but didn't reply, just tossed my phone onto the passenger seat. But the heavy weight in my chest felt a little lighter. I gripped the steering wheel, let out a long breath, and gave a self-deprecating laugh. Still too soft, I muttered to myself. I got home, made some dinner, and collapsed on the couch. It was almost 8 when Wyatt called. Ethan, I found out. The baby is Dylan's. It's confirmed. I listened to him rant and rave, and I couldn't help but smile a little. I know, but Dylan is trying to get her to terminate the pregnancy. Wyatt was shocked. Is he insane? I thought he wanted to use the baby to trap her. I filled him in on everything that had happened over the last few days, and he went quiet. Wyatt? I asked, a knot of anxiety in my stomach. Dylan told me that if Khloe refuses to sign, I can't get a divorce. Is that true? Wyatt scoffed. Let her try. I have ways of dealing with people like her. The infidelity alone is enough to get her fired. I've got a friend who can leak this on your company's internal servers. She'll be begging to sign then. You know what? I'm flying out to Berlin. We're getting this done now. Before I could even respond, he hung up. I thought about it. If she really did drag this out, it would be a problem. I opened my work app and requested a personal day. Wyatt was impulsive. He'd probably be on the next flight out and I'd have to go pick him up. I sent him a quick text telling him to send me his flight info, then went to bed. The next morning, I woke up to a text from Wyatt. His flight landed at 11 p.m. I thought for a moment, then decided to video call my parents. My mom picked up right away. The first thing she said was, "You've gotten so thin." The anxiety I'd been feeling vanished at the sound of her voice. I laughed. No, I haven't. I've probably gained weight. She laughed back. I don't believe it. We'll have to fatten you up when you get home. I looked at the screen and finally said it. Mom, my friend is flying in today to help me finalize the divorce with Khloe. My mom's smile vanished. My dad, who had been quiet beside her, looked grim. My heart sank. You don't want me to divorce her? I asked. No, that's not it, my mom said quickly. It's just, you're so far away. We can't be there to help you through this. My eyes started to sting. I'm sorry. I'm a grown man. You shouldn't have to worry about me. I took a deep breath. As soon as the divorce is finalized, I'll take some time off and come home. My mom nodded, and my dad finally spoke up. Ethan, if you're having a hard time over there, you have to tell us. Our families had lived near each other, and our parents had been friendly ever since Khloe and I started dating, though it was usually my parents visiting hers. Khloe never liked visiting my family, always saying she wasn't comfortable with big family gatherings. Sometimes I'd stay with her, sometimes I'd go home alone. Eventually, it just became a tradition for me to go with her to her parents' house for the holidays, and for my parents to visit them. Thinking about it now made my eyes burn. After we hung up, I felt a sense of peace. I leaned back on the couch and looked out the window, and the text scrolled into view again. Well, the show's over. The male lead is officially done with the female lead. But I thought they were supposed to end up together? This is wrong. If this happens, the whole story is ruined. If he doesn't want her anymore, what's the point? Show? I said out loud to no one. If my life is a show, then who's the one directing it? The text in front of me froze. I stared in confusion, and then the text started flashing wildly. No way. Can he hear us? Is this a bug? Admin, get in here. Ethan, look at me. I was always on your side. I wanted you to divorce her. Staring at the frantic text, a strange idea occurred to me. Could I actually talk to them? I tried it. Who are you? The text immediately went crazy. He can really hear us. Ethan, you have to follow your own path. Don't let the plot control you. No, the male lead is supposed to end up with the female lead. It's destiny. She's trying her best. He's the one who's being ungrateful. From the chaotic mess of flashing text, I started to piece it together. They were people from some other dimension watching my life. To them, Khloe, and everyone I knew were just characters in a story. And according to their plot, I was supposed to follow a set path to a predetermined ending. I was supposed to forgive Khloe after she went through some dramatic redemption arc, and then we were supposed to live happily ever after. I scowled. Forgiving Khloe was out of the question. Just as I was about to ask another question, the text dissolved into a mess of garbled characters and then vanished completely. It was replaced by a single line of text that looked like a system error message. System alert, program error detected. Initiating repair sequence. A reminder to all viewers, this is not a fictional universe. The individuals within are real, sentient beings. Ethan Miller is the protagonist from your perspective, but you have no control over his thoughts or actions. He alone determines his path. As compensation for the cross-dimensional connection error, a boon will be granted to Ethan Miller. Repairing error. As the final period faded from my vision, the text was gone. I couldn't see it anymore. Hello, I said, testing the silence. I stared at the empty space where the words used to be, but there was nothing. The text that had been my constant companion was gone, and I felt a sudden, strange emptiness. I thought back on their comments. Most of them had been rooting for Khloe, but there had been a few who were on my side. I was almost sad they were gone. I sat on the couch, feeling a little lost, and it took me a while to shake it off. Well, if they were gone, they were gone. They had appeared out of nowhere to begin with. But that last message from the admin stuck with me. Only he can control his life. Thinking about that, the last of my gloom finally lifted. I spent the evening cleaning my apartment, and at 9:30, I left for the airport. The highway was open, the city lights were bright, and with the cool night air blowing in through the window, I felt better than I had in a long time. While I was waiting for Wyatt at the airport, I suddenly remembered something. That admin message had mentioned compensation. What was it? I was lost in thought when Wyatt's voice broke through. Ethan, I turned to see him walking toward me, pulling a suitcase. He was grinning. You are not going to believe what happened with the Vance family while I was on the plane. I was tired of hearing anything related to Khloe, so I wasn't particularly interested. But Wyatt went on anyway. Somehow, Khloe's mother found out she was pregnant, and she was ecstatic. She called Khloe and demanded that she keep the baby, hers and Dylan's. I heard she threw a massive fit, crying and screaming and making all sorts of threats. I don't know what Khloe said to finally get her to back down. I had to laugh. Knowing my former mother-in-law's personality, Khloe must have promised her she'd keep it just to get her off the phone. And as for Dylan, if he thought the baby was his ticket, he'd fight to keep it too. But none of that was my problem anymore. I took Wyatt's suitcase from him. Come on, let's get you back to my place. On the drive home, my phone rang. It was Khloe. Ethan, we need to find some time to talk tomorrow. I raised an eyebrow. So this was my boon. I had to admit I liked it. Wyatt was exhausted from the long flight. He took a quick shower and passed out. Right before he fell asleep, he mumbled, "Wake me up tomorrow. I'm coming with you to deal with Khloe." Seeing him, half asleep but still ready to have my back, a warmth spread through my chest. I nodded. The night passed quietly. The next day, I took Wyatt with me to the office. I cleared it with HR and let him wait for me in the employee lounge. As I walked into my department, I could hear Khloe on the phone in the hallway. "If it wasn't you, then who told my mother I was pregnant?" "Dylan, you make me sick. You're the one who got me drunk that night. That's the only reason." Her voice cut off abruptly when she saw me. She quickly hung up and walked toward me. "It's the middle of the workday," I said flatly. Whatever you have to say can wait until lunch. Seeing that I wasn't going to engage, Khloe bit back whatever she was going to say. But I could tell her mother's interference was taking its toll. The dark circles under her eyes said it all. When I got back to my desk, there was another small bouquet of sunflowers waiting for me, 3 stems twisted together. I glanced over at Bianca and caught her eye. This time, she smiled openly. "Do you like them, Ethan?" I looked at her for a moment, then nodded. "They're nice. They'd be even nicer if they were from someone I was interested in." My words made her smile vanish. She was young, but she wasn't stupid. Between the sandwich and now this, she had to understand my meaning. I wasn't interested. A girl like her, from her background, probably just had a fleeting crush anyway. I don't believe in love at first sight, and I definitely didn't have the emotional energy to jump into a new relationship right after ending my marriage. Bianca stared at me for a long time. I thought I saw her eyes glistening before she finally said, "I get it." Then she turned back to her computer, and I couldn't see her face anymore. When I logged onto my computer, there was an instant message from her. "I'm sorry. I hope my crush didn't cause you any problems." I thought about replying, but in the end, I didn't. Some things were better left alone. The morning dragged on until noon. Khloe was already waiting for me in the hallway when I left my desk. "Let's go," she said. I stayed put, just sending a quick text to Wyatt. "Hold on," I said. "I'm waiting for someone." Khloe frowned but didn't say anything. Her expression changed the moment she saw Wyatt walk up. "Ethan, this is between us. What is he doing here?" I said flatly, "He's my divorce lawyer." Khloe was speechless. After a long moment, a bitter smile touched her lips. "So you were never going to give up on divorcing me, were you?" "Let me correct you," I said. "It was over the moment I gave you those papers. You're the one who wouldn't let go." My blunt words made her face fall. She turned and walked away. Soon, we were seated in a private booth at a quiet restaurant. She watched as Wyatt expertly pulled out a folder of documents, and she couldn't stop herself from speaking. "You don't need those," she said. "I'll agree to the divorce. The condo is in my name. As for our shared assets, I can be generous as compensation." She looked at me and took a deep breath. "Believe it or not, the baby with Dylan was an accident. He got me drunk. It was a horrible mistake that happened when I was completely out of it." I stared at her for a few seconds. "Khloe," I said flatly, "you were drunk, not unconscious." When she froze, I pushed the divorce papers Wyatt had prepared across the table to her. "Sign them. After this, we're strangers." After a long silence, Khloe picked up the pen and signed her name. When she was done, I signed my own name on the line below. As I finished the last stroke of my signature, I heard Khloe's hoarse voice. "I guess this is the last time our names will ever be on the same page." I closed the folder. "Don't be so dramatic," I said. Then I stood up, and Wyatt and I walked out of the restaurant. I had no appetite for a final meal with her. Outside the restaurant, Wyatt said, "I was expecting a long, drawn-out fight. I can't believe it was that easy." I clutched the signed papers and smiled. Khloe and her mother have always been incredibly close. There's no way she'd go against her mother's wishes. Her mom never liked me much, but this time, I'm actually grateful to her. After signing the papers, Khloe immediately flew back to the States. She was gone from the office the next day. Her 1-month assignment was almost over anyway. I didn't dwell on it. I just focused on my work, feeling a sense of peace. 3 months flew by. In that time, Bianca seemed to get over her crush, and we settled into a normal, friendly working relationship. My official divorce decree arrived in the mail from the States, and thanks to my performance, I was officially promoted to general manager of the Berlin office. I was happy with my life. One day, a PowerPoint presentation popped up in the company-wide group chat. The title was An Executive Affair, the story of a toxic woman. Curious, I clicked on it. The first slide was a screenshot of a text conversation, and I realized the people involved were Khloe and Dylan. Somehow, their entire explicit chat history had been leaked. My name had been redacted, and even in the screenshots where she lied to me about being at work events when she was with him, my profile picture was blurred out. Even though my identity was protected, everyone in the Berlin office knew I had been married to her. The pitying looks they gave me were uncomfortable. Suddenly, Sam spoke up, his voice sharp. "What are you all staring at our boss for? The person you should be judging is the cheater." His words made everyone look away. I shot Sam a grateful look, but inside, I felt nothing. A presentation like that wouldn't stay contained for long. A quick search online confirmed it. The story was everywhere. The company's response was swift. An official statement was posted on the corporate website announcing Khloe's termination. It cited a violation of the company's code of conduct, stating they would not employ individuals of poor moral character. I was surprised. Engineers with her skill set were hard to come by. I couldn't help myself. I sent a text to Bianca to ask what was really going on. She replied almost immediately. Remember that assessment she did here? The board implemented her recommendations, and the company lost a fortune. They were already looking for a reason to get rid of her. Dylan was the one who leaked the presentation. He said if she was going to ruin his life, he'd ruin hers too. Between the financial disaster and the scandal, the board decided she was a liability they couldn't afford. I pressed my lips together. What could Khloe have done in 3 months to make Dylan hate her that much? But the thought was fleeting. It wasn't my problem anymore. Another 2 years passed in the blink of an eye. The Berlin office was thriving, and I finally had enough vacation time to take a trip back to the States. I couldn't wait to pack my bags and head home. I was at a rest stop on the final leg of my drive home when I saw her again. Khloe. She looked nothing like the woman I remembered from 2 years ago. She looked worn out and defeated, and she was holding a small boy. Dylan was standing nearby, watching her with a cold expression. Stop looking so miserable. You're going to make the kid as pathetic as you are. Khloe clutched the child closer. Dylan, stop it. I don't want to fight with you. Dylan laughed. Right. You want to give your son a happy childhood. But have you ever stopped to think if you're even capable of that? The only reason you married me was because of this kid, and because your mother backed you into a corner. Khloe, you're a spineless coward. I didn't know what had happened to make Dylan so bitter, or why Khloe was putting up with it. All I knew was that it had nothing to do with me. Khloe and I were 2 parallel lines, destined never to cross again. From now on, my life was my own.